The testimony was recorded years later, when the family no longer camped together. No one sought publicity or compensation. What happened near Waldo Lake remained stored away as an uncomfortable experience, something they preferred not to revisit. It took place in late summer, during a brief family outing. Mary and Kesler, her husband Thomas, and their 2 teenage children arrived in the area near dusk. The lake was calm, windless, and the surrounding forest felt closed in, dense, with an unusual stillness even for that region. They set up camp without incident. No other groups were visible nearby. The first anomaly was the sound. Not a scream, but a deep, heavy, repetitive exhalation coming from the forest to the west. Thomas thought it was an elk. Marion disagreed. She was familiar with those sounds. This was lower, more controlled. It stopped when they lit the campfire. Hours later, well into the night, something began to move around the campsite. It didn't walk quickly. It didn't snap branches. It moved with a precision that unsettled them. The fire illuminated only a few meters. Beyond that was complete darkness. That was when the younger son, Evan, noticed an upright silhouette among the trees, motionless, about 30 meters away. There was no eye shine, but its mass blocked the moonlight behind it. Thomas grabbed a powerful flashlight and aimed it directly. The figure did not retreat. It took one step forward. What they saw was neither confused nor fleeting. It was tall, broad-shouldered, with its torso leaning slightly forward, as if assessing them. Its body was covered in dark, matted hair, and its arm movements were slow and deliberate. It made no sound. Then the attack began. Without warning, a rock roughly the size of a helmet slammed the side of the family vehicle, denting the rear door. Another struck the ground just a few feet from the fire. It wasn't a random throw, it was accurate, controlled. The creature advanced 2 more steps, lifting its arm again. Marion screamed for everyone to get into the car. Thomas barely managed to shove the children inside when a third impact shook the hood. The creature didn't roar or charge. It walked toward them calmly, as if it knew there was no urgency. They managed to start the engine and reverse blindly down the trail. Through the rear windshield, Marion saw the figure stop at the edge of the clearing, watching them leave. It did not follow. At dawn, they briefly returned, escorted by a ranger. No clear footprints were found. The stones, however, were still there. No natural rockfall explained their placement. They never returned to Waldo Lake. When Marion finished her statement, she added only one thing. It wasn't curiosity, it was a warning. The report was not written as a confession, but as a chronology. Raphael Mure, a civilian operator of recreational watercraft, submitted it at his wife's insistence almost a year after the incident. "So there's a record," he said. He wasn't looking for an explanation, only to document what happened. The encounter took place along the southern shore of Waldo Lake, in an area rarely used by families and more commonly visited by occasional fishermen. Raphael had brought his 11-year-old daughter, Lenora, and his brother-in-law, Patrick Halsey. It wasn't meant to be a long trip. One afternoon, one night, and an early return. During the afternoon, they noticed something unusual: the silence. Not total, but irregular. Birds moved from place to place without settling. At 6:40 p.m., Patrick pointed out marks in the damp sand near the water's edge. They weren't defined footprints, but deep drag marks, as if something heavy had come out of the lake and gone back in several times. They assumed it was driftwood or possibly a large animal. At 9:15 p.m., while they were preparing their gear to sleep, Lenora said she had seen a man standing far away without a flashlight. Raphael assumed it was another camper. Patrick walked a short distance with his headlamp. He found no one. At 10:02 p.m., the main event began. From the lake came a slow, heavy, rhythmic splashing sound. It didn't match fish or beavers. Raphael later described it as someone entering the water wearing very large boots. Patrick aimed his flashlight toward the surface. Something emerged. It wasn't immediate. First came the movement of the water, then a dark shape rising, as if the body were straightening from a crouched position. When the light reached the torso, they saw shoulders far too broad for any human, covered in soaked hair that glistened in the beam. The creature took one step out of the water, then another. The lake barely reached its waist. Raphael didn't shout, neither did Lenora. The fear was silent, paralyzing. The figure remained still, tilting its head slightly as it watched them. The face wasn't clearly visible, but the structure was unmistakable. Prominent jaw, low forehead, no visible neck. Patrick stepped back instinctively. That movement triggered the attack. The creature advanced with unexpected speed and threw an object, likely a wet rock, that passed over Patrick's head and landed inside the camp, crushing a gearbox. The second throw struck the still empty tent, tearing the fabric. Raphael grabbed his daughter and ran toward the truck. Patrick followed, limping after slipping. Behind them, they heard heavy footsteps coming out of the water and then stopping abruptly, as if the creature had decided not to continue. From inside the vehicle, with the lights on, they saw the silhouette outlined against the lake. It made no further attempt to approach. It remained there until the engine started. The next day, a park ranger inspected the area. He found deep marks along the shoreline and stones displaced from areas with no natural slope. No formal report was filed. Raphael ended his account with a blunt statement. It wasn't an animal defending territory. It was something that chose to come out of the water and approach us. If anyone listens to this, I'm not recording to convince anyone. I'm doing it so I don't forget the order of things. Clara had insisted on recording from the start of the trip, not as testimony, but out of habit. She was a forest engineer and worked documenting field conditions. That night, she wasn't alone. She was accompanied by her partner, Noel Whitcomb, and his cousin, Duncan Rowe, both experienced in outdoor work. They weren't planning to camp. They intended to sleep in the vehicle and return at dawn after a brief site inspection. At 8:47 p.m., the audio captures normal activity, technical comments, footsteps on gravel, light wind. At 9:12 p.m., Clara interrupts herself to describe something she can't clearly define. She says the sound of the lake doesn't fit, that there is wave movement without wind. Noel responds that it's likely nighttime thermal currents. At 9:36 p.m., the tone changes. Something just hit the back of the truck. It wasn't a tree. It was directed. Duncan gets out with a flashlight. The audio records footsteps, then an abrupt silence. He comes back running. It wasn't a small animal. Whatever it is, it's standing. At 9:41 p.m., the first strong impact is heard against the side of the vehicle. The metal dents inward. Clara shouts for them to get inside. Breathing becomes rapid. The engine doesn't start on the first attempt. At 9:43 p.m., a sharp noise shatters one of the rear lights. Glass bursts inward. Noel tries to maneuver the vehicle. Something pushes from the outside. It isn't a violent collision. It's sustained pressure, as if weight is being deliberately applied against the body of the truck. It's touching the vehicle. It's not hitting it. It's testing it. The audio records a deep sound, not vocal, more like a heavy exhalation. Then a long scrape along the driver's door. The metal vibrates. At 9:46 p.m., the attack escalates. A heavy object lands on the roof. The vehicle tilts. Clara shouts Noel's name. Duncan tries to open the passenger door. Something holds it shut from the outside for several seconds that feel endless. Suddenly, the pressure stops. The engine starts. As they accelerate away, the audio captures a final impact directly against the windshield. It doesn't break the glass, but leaves an opaque circular mark, as if from a wet stone. As they drive off, Clara describes a silhouette standing motionless beside the road, far too tall to be any person, arms hanging down, not pursuing them. It didn't follow us. It let us go. The audio ends abruptly at 10:15 p.m. when they lose signal and Clara turns off the device. The following day, a mechanic confirmed damage incompatible with known animals. Dents more than 5 feet off the ground, parallel marks in the paint, localized pressure on structural points. No formal report was filed. Noel sold the truck months later. Clara kept the audio. She never released it. Years later, when asked why she recorded everything, she answered with a short sentence. Because it wasn't chaotic, it was intentional. And that's what's most frightening.